We talk about climate change a lot on this channel. Generally, we're trying to take stock of what is happening in the here and now in different parts of our world. Occasionally, we look forward to what we can expect to happen if the climate crisis is allowed to continue unabated, or if we pursue certain strategies to mitigate some of the damage that might be done. But for right now, I want to look back because I came across this article on Grist by Clayton Aldern. And what Clayton did in this article was go through a number of different sources of data and summarize the last decade of climate change across a number of different axes. It's really fascinating information. I think there's a lot that we can learn from this, especially if you, like me, want to be able to influence people in the right direction as we go forward. You have to know what you're talking about. And so I want to talk about some of what we know, including some of the challenges that remain. So first, atmospheric carbon dioxide parts per million. Take a look at this. It was very popular on my timeline on social media sites. Everyone was doing their 2010 and 2019 photos. Well, this is one that I and a lot of other people shared because despite the fact that many Americans still don't think that climate change is a thing and don't get how it would happen if it were a thing, the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide continued to move up. And some of the limits that we would have expected decades ago that the Earth would never reach, that we have not seen on Earth since before humans were a species, are now the lows on any given year, and it continues to move up. And according to the best scientists' predictions, we are getting very close in about 10 years of advancement in that to a point where we will not be able to stop more than 1.5 degrees Celsius of overall average warming around the world. So that's a reminder of the threat that we face. A reminder of the damage being done right now, though, comes in this next chart. So take a look at this. This is from NOAA data, and it looks at each year the different sorts of annual billion-dollar disasters. Now, not every one of these is caused by climate change. Not everyone can be said that it wouldn't have happened if not for climate change, but we know now where this story is going, and climate change is contributing to many of these. To the wildfires, obviously, we're plagued by those even right now in Australia, and California and other parts of America have faced severe ones as well. Severe storms, hurricanes happening where they're not supposed to be able to happen, outside of the times that they're supposed to happen, are now becoming more common and more dangerous. But while we generally talk about climate change from the point of view of heat, it can also lead to worsening storms in the winter as well. And so you're seeing those go up as well. So this data shows that, look, going back to 2010, it's not like we didn't have natural disasters. It's not like we didn't have natural disasters that caused a lot of damage, but the trend is that they are becoming more common. And so it begs the question, the inverse of the question that we always hear, which is, how are you gonna pay to deal with climate change? This chart is a reminder, how are you gonna pay if you don't deal with climate change? Because that is only going up and up and up, and we're still at the sort of easy part of the climate crisis. What we're looking ahead to in a couple of decades, to 30, 50, 100 years, is absolutely devastating. And that chart is gonna look quaint once we get to that point, unless we do what we need to do. So now moving forward to a little bit of positive news, and that has to do with public opinion. So let's take a look at this. This is from Yale, their climate change communications program data. And you can see over 10 years, the percentage of the American public who believe that climate change is happening has been trending up. Not as much as I perhaps would want, but whereas 60% back in 2010 believe that it's happening, that's up now to 72%. And the percent that don't think it's happening at all is down to just 12%. That is still just impossible to understand, but it is at least going down. And that represents over the course of 10 years, about half of those remaining deniers have dropped out, almost. But let's go back to that because we also have to deal with, okay, you think it's happening. That's the first obstacle. The second obstacle is, do you believe that it is humans that are causing it? And that shows that, yes, again, we're moving in the right direction, but not quite as fast and not reaching the same levels, because 1 out of 3 Americans still think that we're not causing it, that it's just like solar flares or natural cycles of variation or Thor's breath, I don't know. They think something other than the fact that humanity has covered the globe and is emitting carbon in virtually everything we do at levels the Earth has never seen before. Those two things are not connected. I get that it's happening, but I don't think that we're causing it. It's mind-blowing. But even there, the majority of Americans agree that it's happening and that we're causing it. The third tier, we don't have data on this right now, is do you believe that it's happening? Do you believe that we're causing it? Do you believe that we can stop it from happening? And that is really a question of political and economic will. And I believe that that is now where we've gotten to in terms of that's where we're fighting our battle. Most people, the people who are going to accept the science, they now do. The people who get that we're causing it, the vast majority of those now get it. Now it's, are we going to do what we need to do to the extent we need to do it and in the time that we have remaining? And so that's what we're fighting. And we should be glad that we've gotten to that point, but that is still a titanic fight that we're gonna have to have. And now we talk about what that fight is going to look like, because we have overall public opinion, and now we have that through the lens of partisanship. Let's take a look at this. So this is the divide between Democrats and Republicans on, do you worry a great deal about the quality of the environment? And the percentage of Democrats saying they worry a great deal has skyrocketed, a significant percentage gain from 47% of Democrats up to 65%. That is great. But for Republicans, fewer Republicans are worried about the environment now than in 2010. That is mind-blowing. What have we been experiencing? Like think about what that actually represents, because there is not a Republican in this country that doesn't get that we are facing horrific natural disasters. Whether you're on the coasts, whether you're in the interior, you're being hit by something. It may be fire, it may be water, I don't know, it may be wind, but it's something that's hitting you. So they get that. They've seen the headlines, yes. They, for the most part, only listen to Fox News, and so they've got this bubble, but it can't have, something must have gotten through in the past few years. And yet they're still not worried about it. What sort of bizarre, like self-sacrificing fatalism is that? That you see what's going on in the US, you see what's going on around the world, but who really worries about that stuff? I mean, that is insane. And that, look, I'm not saying that we can turn around all those people, but we gotta get some of those people, unfortunately, because it's not just that we have to pull over some of the Republicans. There are still quite a few elected Democrats that don't get it on climate change. And so as we go into 2020, we have a great opportunity now, not just to take back power in some abstract sense, but to take it back for a reason, for the reason, which is to deal with this climate crisis. And we're not already through the primaries, on the presidential side, but also perhaps more importantly on the congressional side. We can't just win in a partisan sense in 2020. We have to win now so that we have the right candidates when we win in the later part of this year. So engage in those fights now, because this battle, like, it's difficult for any one individual person to make a big difference, although Greta shows that that's even possible too. We have to choose the right people, and that's where your vote and your voice really counts. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.